to be the greatest in 2025. That's what we're doing. Hey, Eyal, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I am doing good, young man. Now, remind me, have you graduated yet from the University of Pennsylvania?
I did graduate.
Oh, look at you. You're an adult.
I'm an adult now.
I know you're out there adulting, and and that's always a good thing. But my audience, they would remember you, and really, I have Chris Tremogli in here right now, and he was talking about how you guys were also interacting. You were everywhere here, talking about what you were experiencing as a student on the campus of University of Pennsylvania when we had all of these, Hamas supporters shutting down school and just really being in agitation in the worst way. And I went on Twitter yesterday and I saw you commenting again, and I wanted you to just come on and share your thoughts. But here's your tweet that you put out. You said, "This is happening now. A massive crowd of Hamas supporters has taken over downtown Manhattan, New York City, calling for a global intifada." First of all, what is a global intifada? What is an intifada? Help people understand that. And then just tell me, what are your thoughts on this?
Definitely. Well, thank you so much. Great speaking to you again. I hope you had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Yes, we did.
So just to educate people on what an intifada means. So an intifada's direct translation is Arabic. It means uprising in Arabic. And there were two intifadas, one in the 90s and one in the early 2000s. The first one consisted mostly of car rammings and stabbings, and the second one consisted of suicide bombings, specifically on buses in Israel, in the Jerusalem, in the Holy City. And since graduating, I've definitely shifted more to discussing overall politics than specifically campus anti-Semitism. But the reason that is because the crossroads of the two could not be more apparent. When you see people chanting for a global intifada, this is what they mean. A global intifada means stabbings, car rammings, suicide bombings across the globe. And it's a shame and it's a tragedy that it takes such heart-wrenching events like the one that took in New Orleans yesterday for people to start waking up at the level of pro-terror sentiment that has been festering across the West, specifically at universities, but across the West. And whether it be the car ramming in Magdeburg, Germany at the Christmas market, whether it be in November when a gunman shot at a Christian school in California, or whether it be the New Orleans car ramming, these are all what a global intifada looks like. And it's not rocket science. You go online, you see the same people who are cheering on Hamas are the same people that are cheering on these events. You see the same people who are cheering on Israel to defeat this perverse terrorist ideology. And those are the ones expressing remorse and saying, wake up, this is what's coming to the West.
Right, because instead what we get coming out of New Orleans is, Chris and I have been talking about it, is the FBI trying to manage expectations and manage our emotions and starting telling us, oh, this wasn't a terrorist attack. It was just an event, right? Not taking it seriously, not warning the people, not educating us, and really not taking serious that there are some very evil people who have evil and chaos on their mind, and they're hell bent on carrying out that chaos and impacting as many people as possible. And that is not somewhere over there in Israel or Yemen or Germany. It is right here on our soil in America.
I could not agree more. I mean, I think a textbook example is last month there was at George Mason University, there was actually two separate incidents in a singular month of one student, an Egyptian national, being arrested for plotting out a mass terrorist event in New York City. This is a student who was arrested, and right before he was posting online how much he revered and respected Osama bin Laden.
Yeah.
And then just 2 weeks before that, a student's home was raided, and in it they found multiple modern guns. They found flags saying death to Jews. They found Hamas flags. They found Hezbollah flags. And so I think people are naive because we do enjoy a luxury in the United States of being so far away from our enemies. But in a globalized world, when we do have an open southern border where even the current administration has recognized that Hamas and Hezbollah members have tried to cross through, we need to understand that we don't live in a world where we're so far removed from these sorts of ideology, especially with the advent of the internet, where these ideas can spread much quicker than people do. And I really think it takes more people speaking up about the danger of this. And I hope that people speak up before it hits their own backyard.
How about
You
that?
have people speaking up more when they're in New Orleans now. You have people speaking up more in New York City when you see these Hamas rallies every weekend. But it takes the rest of the country looking at these other parts of America and speaking up and demanding that this no longer happens.
Yeah. Chris, did you want to ask something?
No, I was gonna say that the George Mason, that was the event I was talking about. It happened in New York earlier this month, and it's tragic because the kid who did it was an incoming freshman. I think it was like 18 years old, and it
Hmm.
just shows like these people are being radicalized and dangerously radicalized at an early age, and going to the point where they're taking action and going through all these channels to try to cause this destruction. So yeah, no, there's definitely he's absolutely right. Eyal is we have to be vigilant. We have to be aware. This is a looming threat. This is a current danger. Um, that's something we definitely have to take
Yeah,
aware
I mean,
for, be
and
aware
and
for.
right, and in large part, we talked a lot about this when I was on a campaign trail with Vivek Ramaswamy. Is that there is, I mean, Blaise Pascal said there's a God-shaped vacuum in all of our hearts, and if you try to remove God, like our culture has, because we're so humanistic, and I am the center of all things. Well, you're going to, I mean, it's not going to stay vacant, open and void. It something other is going to another purpose. People are constantly looking for purpose and significance, and if we remove a sense of righteousness and morality based on something that is good and wholesome, well, people are going to go out and they're going to try to find it. And we live in a culture where, whether it's in our education system or just in a culture where you get to make it up as you go along. There is no such thing as right and wrong. It's all about how you feel about things. And I believe that has left, especially our young people, very susceptible to other ideologies that come in and give very rigid sense of purpose. What do you think, Eyal?
I I could not agree more with you. I think that's exactly what's happening. We're always taught my truth, but there is an objective truth. There are objective ideals and principles that we have to live up to as human beings. And as we lose our faith, as we lose what this country was founded upon, if people read the Constitution and then they read the Bible, they'll see that there's inextricable evidence that they're tied together. They're linked because our founding principles are made up of higher ideals. And that's not to say at all that you can't be someone of faith and be just as American as someone who is religious. But it is to say that in this country, in the West, we do have ideals and principles that we need to live up to. And I think another great example of this is with the Luigi Mangione, the
Mm.
murder of the UHC CEO, healthcare killer, is that you saw, at least at Penn, he was a graduate of the University of Pennsylvania, there were polls put out at Penn, and
What?
70% of students said that they supported Luigi. You had professors who put on TikTok saying, "This is the first time I have felt proud to be a UPenn professor," referring to the
Yeah.
fact that one of the students literally assassinated a husband, a father, an innocent man. And in this country, we do have something called the legal system, where if someone believes someone is wrong, that's where the legal system steps in. But I don't, to my knowledge, the CEO did not have a fair trial. He was just assassinated outside of his hotel.
Right, for
Absolutely.
sure.
And it has truly been alarming, not just with, Luigi and the assassination of this human being, right? But it's alarming when we had people, at the at college campuses and seeing those pro-Hamas supporters just being, it was just a travesty. It was horrific what we were watching other human beings in America being allowed to do to people they disagree with, Jewish people primarily, but anyone who doesn't agree with them. It was, it gave me great pause to see when our country was saying, hey, let's just open up the border and anybody and everybody just come on in. And if you don't like it, then you must be a racist, right? I mean, the common thread as I look at all of that, because I don't believe these are isolated events, I believe it's tied to the fact that we have a void in our heart of who we are. Who am I? Why am I here? What am I supposed to do? And when we as a country says everything about this nation is horrible and racist and backwards and we just need to be ashamed to be an American, well, it's not going to remain void. Something other is going to come in and fill that void.
And I wanted to jump in there. I think that's a key point too. Is like American bashing or shame to be American, or basically kind of an erosion of our American pride and in inserting a corrosion of these toxic ideals and principles, like of that my truth, or these anti-American, anti-Western civilization sentiments, which kind of lead to growing resentment and these kind of horrible attacks of Luigi Maggioni, or the terrorist attacks, or suspected the attempted terrorist attacks in New York. So that's kind of a lingering issue that stems from all this anti-Western radical left-wing propaganda that's seeped into our culture and our education system. Sure, definitely our education system.
I agree. Eyal?
I think you both are spot on. I think you see it in multiple different ways. I think, like you both already said, there's this clear connection between people who supported Luigi Mangione and people who cheered on October 7th. I think there's a clear connection between people who want the southern border open and people who chant death to America. They want the erosion of our society, of the West, of our freedom, of our values, of our principles. And I think you really see this in actually President Trump, is that the people who surround him, from Elon Musk to Vivek, is that to RFK, is they disagree on actually a decent amount of policies. If you look at Vivek actually discuss a lot of his ideas, they're very different than, let's say, Elon Musk or RFK. But what links them all is believing in American excellence, is believing in the principles and values of this country, and that's what brings them together. And I think that's what you see emerging, is a new group, especially amongst the youth, is these people who recognize that America is a force for good, who recognize that this is the greatest country in the world and has been the greatest country in the world and will continue to be the greatest country in the world, with the one caveat is that we actually have to fight for it. We can't just sit back and be lazy. We have to fight both ideologically and militarily to ensure that the United States does continue to be the greatest country in the world.
Oh my goodness, Eyal, my heart is just bursting with joy that
there's literally red, white, and blue coming out of your
Yes, but but it gives me so much hope. And again, we've been talking about this all week, is that, we're going to talk about when we get back from this break that we're about to go on to right now, the H-1B, a large part, the initial conversation about H-1B is that our youth is just shot. They're gone. We might as well just wrap it up, right? But then I talk to people like you, and I feel so encouraged. How can people find out more about you, Eyal Yakoby?
Sorry, I think we lost each other.
No. How can people find out more about you? Where can they go?
They can go on my Twitter account, at EYAKOBY. That's primarily where I'm suited at right now. But I hope to continue to show the world that there is young people in America who do still believe in American excellence and the value of this great nation.
I love it. Thank you so much, Eyal Yakoby, young man out here adulting. That is amazing, and it gives me hope. See y'all on the other side.